1% African.
But most of all,
I'm 100%
Australian.
What makes you unique is what makes us Australian. Order your Ancestry DNA kit today and discover what you're made of. Save $30 for a limited time only.
what else am I?
I'm 90% Australian, 20% un-Australian, and 120% bad at maths. That's an ad for DNA testing, a service where you spit into a tube to find out about your genetic background. Emily, why does it feel like an Australia Day lamb ad?
So, I mean, both of these ads were designed for Australia Day. I think what's really interesting is they're not that overt in it about the fact that it is for Australia Day. And that's because when you sort of mix ancestry with Australia Day, particularly in the context of change the date, it all starts to feel a little bit icky. I think the other big similarity that you can really see here is they're both playing in the space of diversity. So with a brand, you want to really feel that you're culturally relevant and you want something you can push up against that feels interesting and topical to people. And at the moment, I think we all kind of feel with Brexit, you know, with a lot of the kind of things going on in the world that we're quite divided and that there's not really a sense of kind of uniting people. So both lamb and ancestry, I'd say maybe ancestry has a little bit more right to play than meat, but are choosing to be about, you know, diversity and the celebration of that.
This is an American company, and I think they learned a bit of a lesson in America because there were issues with genetics being linked to race, and they had some white supremacists being told on Jerry Springer that they're black. So there were problems with it. And so this is a kind of got this filter, this sort of PC filter over it to make it like we're okay. It's not about division, it's about togetherness.
I think it's great that brands are going down this route. You know, in the mid-90s, the Australian government used to spend a lot of money advertising citizenship. So every Australia Day, there'd be a big campaign, sort of $30 million. That stopped around 20 years ago. And then that's actually left a huge gap open for brands. And brands know that Australia are looking for something that unifies it, us. So I like the fact that brands are taking hold of that and giving that a crack.
And I think probably with this, there is that sort of unintended consequence that it can be divisive on even a day-to-day scale. And you'll see there it almost becomes a competition for how exotic you are and how many diversity boxes you can tick. You know, any ethnicity you can do, I can do better. Now, we don't want that happening. So bringing that, wrapping it up and making sure it's unified is kind of critical to make that permissible.
Your spit is part of a rapidly growing $155 million DNA industry. For all the fear about data mining, it might be time to start worrying about DNA mining too. Because last year, more people sent off spit than every previous year combined. But before DNA, Ancestry.com was obsessed with family records.
Finding out about my family on Ancestry has been a real eye-opener.
I went on Ancestry because I knew that there were stories to be told about my family, and now I can pass that on to my kids.
I was able to discover that I went back all the way to Edward I, which is amazing.
I have a great sense of pride in my family, even more so now that I've discovered who we are and where we've come from.
Oh, so exciting. He found out his uncle was a horse. There's a bit in a longer version of that ad that I found interesting.
I'm going to tell you, I have never felt more like a detective in my life. The more you do, the more you want to do. It's completely addictive.
Yeah, same with meth. But I'm not going to do that either. Christina, why does the detective Nana want to get me addicted?
I think it's really interesting that the way they treat this like a game, because it is a bit of a lucky dip. Are you going to get Viking, villain, or something worse like absolute Blasville, because that would be the worst. I think we all want something a bit exotic in our history. Are you connected to Joan of Arc or Kevin Bacon? That's what you're looking for, that sort of random 1% to explain away your idiosyncrasies. And there's this whole other aspect of it. Like they talk about members since 2011, what have you. There's this whole world beyond that just initial sort of, you know, family tree building. That keeps growing. It's not the destination. It's actually the journey to there. And you are part of building that tree. So you'll get these sort of leaves and hints, and through oral history and the things that you pick up from Nana's funeral and stuff, you'll try to decode that. It's basically Agatha Christie on steroids, building this sort of family tree, and you are absolutely part of this. And then that is just the gateway drug to this whole world of family merch, basically, where you've got the book, the mug, the film rights, if you're interesting enough, around sort of your ancestry DNA. So it's absolutely about a game to sort of keep you in there, you know,